Did I do that? Yeah, sis, you did. This is a story time about how I got cheated on by Carl Winslow, part 3. So, over the next couple of months, we began to develop a real friendship. I moved into a new place, actually, even closer to his house. Um, and he would come over my house and do man shit. He would come, check the attic, spray for bugs, build shit. I mean, like, real cool. And he would just slide by and do this for me. And we would just chop it up in between, but not nothing too heavy. Come over, we talk, we enjoyed each other's company, but it was super platonic. I went to a Joe Dispenza retreat, like pretty immediately after I moved in here, and it was a week long. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna look on this app one more again, and then after this retreat, I'm deleting the apps for real, for good. And so I meet this guy and we go and hang out and he's super cool. We have like a really great time. And we're talking throughout the week while I'm at the retreat. And then at the end, he's just like, you know what? I don't want to date anybody long distance. And that was just it. And I was like, that's wild. So I come back from the retreat and I have ADHD, so I body double, meaning that like if people are in the room, I can get a lot of stuff done. I asked Carl to come over to just sit with me while I unpacked my boxes. And through conversation, um, I read him my favorite children's book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. It's a book that I keep um, because as an adult, it reads different. And we bonded that night. And I told him about oh boy and how I was just like I'm over it. I'm just going to chill out and meditate, figure it out for the next few months. And Carl looks at me and he says while drawing me a chalk picture that I still have, would you be open to dating me? And I stopped and I looked at him like this. And I had to think about it. And if I'm being completely honest, my thoughts were shallow. Like, could I? Carl has some size on him. We know what Carl Winslow looks like. And he has 3 kids. And we live a different life. And this is my homie. But I'm like, but overall, he seems like a really cool dude. And maybe my shallow tendencies are what's keeping me from meeting someone really nice. At this point, he hadn't presented any red flags for me to say no. What's the worst that could happen? So I said, yeah. And he said, okay. A few days later, he sent me the most creative way to ask me on a date. It was 6 photos, one of him, one of me, one of the Georgia Aquarium, um, and some other things to ask me if I wanted to go on a date with him, to go to the aquarium, do some things on Wednesday. Wednesday, like the character was the last thing that was on there. And I just thought, wow, that was so thoughtful. It was so cute. It was so creative. Um, and so I was like, is this what this means? And he was like, yeah. That Wednesday was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving last year. And we went on this date and we had a spectacular time together. We really did. Um, I enjoyed the date. I felt like it was well thought out. I enjoyed him. We were chill. We was in hoodies. Like I didn't have to like get all zhuzhed up because I mean, we have been sitting in my house unpacking. It was just super dope. And from there, we began to get to know each other and develop this relationship. Well, I was supposed to be going to Nigeria. So I always go home for a family pajama jam the second week in December. And from there, I was supposed to be flying to Nigeria with one of my line sisters. My visa didn't come in time. And throughout the time that I was gone, you know, this is just about 3 weeks after we went on our first date. He and I continued to talk, and I thought, man, I'm going to be in Nigeria for almost a month. Like, what's going to happen with that? And when I got sent home instead of to Nigeria, I started making up all kinds of things. For instance, when I first walked into my house, there happened to be a light on. And I was like, you know what? God couldn't send me to Nigeria. He had to send me home because there was a light on. And God was like, Brett, I don't want your light bill to be super high, so I'm going to just go ahead and send you home. And I'm telling you, everything that happened, I would make up a thing like, man, I know why God sent me home instead of Nigeria. He had to. And about 2 weeks after I got back, Carl and I had bonded so much, just literally sitting in my car, chopping it up while he was at work. I mean, doing really cool dates together, talking on the phone. I looked up and I told my line sisters, like, man, I know why God didn't send me to Nigeria. And he sent me home. He had to. Because this great man was there waiting for me. And I believed that with all of my heart. I felt that. And like, because I be liking to travel, and Carl said he liked to travel too. Like, we planned a cruise. Duh. If we not going to Nigeria, where are we going? And literally, we started planning for things and talking and planning. And I remember in January, because now we're in January, things kind of got rocky. Communication got weird, and I can't really remember what it was about, but Carl had only officially been divorced for about 6 weeks at that time. So I understood that that would be coming with some growing pains. That meant that this would be his first time introducing his children to someone new, should we get to that point. He had one adult daughter in college and 2 boys that, you know, he shared custody with. And, you know, at the time seemed like a pretty decent relationship with his ex-wife. But that wasn't my issue at the time. We constantly talked about, you know, meeting the kids eventually and everything. But we were moving forward. But struggling in some communication. The odd thing about this communication struggle that we were having was could never pinpoint exactly what it was. And the goalposts kept moving for what it was. But there was something. But I wouldn't find out what it was until today.